Hey, welcome to another edition of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show, our ongoing miniseries where we break down key updates and design questions straight from the development of Shade Protocol. These episodes are built around the game's community engagement series Devs Ask You, or DAUs, where Kendall and the team not only show us changing, but invite fans to shape the journey with them. Once whimsical, once united, eventually torn apart by war. Cute, tragic, a little unhinged, and very recruitable. Today's episode introduces two Snacklets with hearts larger than their metal frames, Maggie and Opie. Opposing ideals, clashing loyalties, but both driven by hope. Be sure to follow us and Little Legendary on our socials and YouTube channel, and be sure to join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice directly with the dev team. Links to everything will be in the description down below, and with all that being said, it's Razzle Dazzle time! It's to my understanding that Snacklets by themselves are supposed to be popcorn enemies, right? They're just supposed to be like the thing that you can just beat up as you go along, right? And, you know, they become famous in the Discord community of like, you know, you gotta kill them all, right? Like we even said it in our Snacklet episode. But there are two specific special Snacklets that you've shown some light to. They are called Maggie and Opie. Just for starters, just for basic openers, can you give us a quick little introduction to these characters?
Sure. So, I mean, if you are killing Snacklets, first of all, you are a horrendous person. You're a horrible person. They're just this lovable little things. They have done nothing to you. And if they want to hit you, they're like hitting you with their tiny little arms. Like
there should be an achievement. There should be an achievement in the game one day where like you can only get it if you don't harm a single Snacklet. If that's the case.
But that's an interesting thing to take. So we'll take it under advisement. But some of them, they definitely feel good to hit, but you shouldn't. They're just so lovable. So I guess first of all, to set the stage really super quickly, Snacklets are pretty much, you know, these beautiful tiny little robots that are made out of pure lithium. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of that will require for you to play the game to kind of understand what that means. But they're like the primal form of living a lithium, right? It's kind of hard to say if they were man-made or they are just natural occurrences of a lithium kind of taking shape and learning how the world works. But we will get to that during the game. But in concept, they are just so pure, and that's like a really important concept of who they are. And they are incredibly gullible. And they're, I mean, I don't know what word to use, but they're kind of dumb. They're a little dumb. So, you know, you could trick them. Like, you could tell them, like, something is not true, and then they will, like, doubt it for a moment. But if you tell them again, they'll definitely believe you. And then they'll tell each other that that's the case, and then they'll all rally around you. And, you know, they're so easy to trick because they just, you know, they're so loving, and they're just so, they're just very simple creatures. What happens is, in the World Shade Protocol, there are many of these Snacklets, and they tend to gravitate to certain places of the world. They are a little bit when I say there's many, it's not like they're everywhere, like they're like the common thing. Like the average person, you know, replica or not, has probably never seen a Snacklet in their life. Like it's not like the most common thing to ever see, but there are many places where they exist.
Really? I was given the opposite impression. I thought Snacklets were like in abundance in this world.
They are in abundance, but they are not everywhere. So I think that's like, for example, when we talk about like the lands of Tema, right? So when we're talking about the snow biome, they're probably nowhere to be found, you know, in the ice biome, right, in that area of the world for many reasons. And we'll get to that when we mess with that area and why. But there's certain areas where they're just not found, right? But there are many versions of a Snacklet, and they're not all like identical to what you might have seen in some of our trailers or whatnot. There's many versions of them. So they are, I would say, I wouldn't use the word, they're abundant, but they're not common. As in like they might be secluded to certain areas of the world.
Gotcha.
And that's where you'll see more of them. But the thing about Snacklets, specifically for the story, and this is something that could definitely change. We've had to make very drastic changes to the story in order to accommodate the demand of the players, specifically because, you know, we didn't think people were going to fall in love with the Walcott so insanely Therefore, we had to like move a bunch of shit in terms of story pacing to get the katana earlier so that people wouldn't like hunt me down and kill me in my sleep.
You don't want us
So
to
because
work
of
for that awesome, amazing move? Like, come on, dude.
I can't make you wait like 60% of the game because of
That's
things
fair.
that people want
No,
to do.
that's a good point. That's a good point.
So because of that, some things have to change, but it's not, that's not the biggest problem here. It's more that as we are adapting the story, there's things that can still be moved, but conceptually the idea is, and I think that will remain, that there are two big snacklet factions, right? And right now we are kind of codenaming them like the bolts and the screws. And they are, they're pretty much, two factions of the same thing, but they're separated in this fantastic place, this kind of metal forest that exists. And there's like this scar in the world. There's this like line, like if something made a dent in the world, imagine it like that. And there's like this huge chasm, and on each side of this metal forest, the two factions live, right? So one faction was set up ended up on the side that is closest to the Spire, which is where Arconis and all the Xaviors rally. So the Snacklets that were on that side kind of became subservient and enamored with the ideals of the Xaviors, and then on the other side are the ones that kind of became more free, right? And because they became free, eventually they made it to the Bastions because they're so curious that the Saviors haven't been able to find all humans, but somehow the Snacklets are just, they just have so much curiosity that they found themselves more attuned into finding the Bastions, and then they became kind of their desire is to like support them. So you'll see maybe inside something like Bastion Suna, where the game starts, that there's a ton of Snacklets that have like rallied in it, and they have like an entire society inside Bastion Suna, and they support all the core systems of Suna, and they're just like the little hardworking, little tiny things that are just trying their best to keep this thing alive and moving and working, right? So you'll see a lot of those the kind of two differences. But when you have something like Maggie and Opie, then you have two, I wouldn't say extremes, they're not opposite to each other, but they're completely different vibes of the Snacklet. So starting with Maggie, you have this rare, hyper intelligent Snacklet that might look like a very bratty 11-year-old. She's very, very smart. She's very, she can manipulate things. She's capable of understanding all the social cues and all this stuff, but she's still a Snacklet, right? So it's not like, she has this incredibly insane master plan to like, overthrow the world, but she is, incredibly smart for a Snacklet, which is, in some ways the sum of that is like smarter than a human, but not to the point where she's like some sort of crazy genius, but it just gives her that edge, and she knows she's cute also. That's another thing that she has to her advantage, but she is on the side of the Saviors. So she is on the side of that scar, and the her main thing is she wants to, because she's a Snacklet, she can't help it. She loves her kind, and she wants them unified. So she wants to end the conflict as soon as possible, so that all the Snacklets can be back together. I know this is going to sound kind of drastic and kind of sad, but Snacklets apart suffer. Like they need each other. They're kind of like I'll say it like that. They suffer when they're not together. They need each other. And they long for one another. It's like they're this big family, and they just they can be adorable to you, but they kind of really want to be with their kind, and they work together. They care a lot about their craft and what they do. So she suffers that too, and they all want to be together, but they have different ways of doing that. For her, it's ending the war, and ending this war means like, because they're on the side of the Saviors and they kind of follow those ideals, they think like if humanity stop existing, if they become extinct, then the war will inevitably end. That makes a lot of sense.
A quick
Therefore,
clarification. So it's Maggie that's on the Xavier's side, not her faction, the Screws, that are also there.
yes, both. So Maggie is on
Oh,
the side of the Screws, which are on the other side of the Scar. Yes, exactly. So
okay.
that's what's happening. But of course, we're gonna meet Maggie, and a lot of stuff's gonna happen. But there's that side that's over there, and the Screws are very loyal to the Saviors, very
Gotcha.
loyal, like
Okay.
incredibly loyal. And most of these Snacklets that you fight around the game, they will be from that faction. It will make sense because they're opposing you. But then there's there's the other side, the Bolts, And then these guys are a lot more, kind of whimsical, and they feel more like the spirits from like Princess Mononoke kind of
Sure,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
That's their vibe. They're just living life and working, and they love working, and they will do anything to have a purpose and have a problem to solve, and it doesn't matter, right? If you give them like a bunch of boxes and tell them to stack them, they will stack them
They're like
perfectly.
they're like Pikmins.
Yeah, exactly. They kind of like that vibe. They have that energy that, tell me what to do. And then when they finish doing what you told them to do, if you show up and you kick the boxes, they'll be upset for like 2 seconds until they realize that the boxes can be put back together, and then they'll put both the boxes back together, and then so they're whimsical and kind of not they don't get like overly upset over anything. They're just joyful, but of course they also miss the 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 rest of the Snacklets, and they knew each other before this. The Snacklets don't live like a couple of days. They're not butterflies. They've lived long time, so they miss each other and they want to be back together. But this one suffer a little bit less. They're kind of like putting it off to like, okay, I'll just, as long as I'm working, I don't have to think about it. So this is the kind of friendly Snacklets that you'll meet. And Opie, we don't quite know which side he's from because Opie is a little different than all of them. Opie is a snacklet that has he lives in this delusion that he is mighty. He has this belief in his mind that he's like the hero of the snacklets, and he will end this war, and he's like this really powerful snacklet. He just believes it in his mind. He doesn't even, if you would ask him, he thinks he's a bastion. Like he's like in his mind, he's like the largest, mightiest thing to ever exist, right? But he is not like his delusion doesn't extend to arrogance or anything like that. It just extends to his belief that he is meant for greatness. We have like an art piece that we're working on where he's like raising his hand, and the whole idea is like, whenever you see the trailers, you'll see that Zura, whenever she does like this ultimates that she could do, we call them harmonies. Like she almost always does some sort of motion where this instrument will fall from the sky, kind of tear reality and fall into her arm. And that's kind of, something that people haven't caught on to, but pretty much replicas that are able to summon instruments, which is not everything, like not every replica. This is like kind of like Super Saiyan for Saiyans, right? Something like that. It's the upper limit of replicas that could ever summon an instrument. That's kind of what they do in some way. Like it's like this thing that they're somehow playing to this thing beyond the world, this song amidst the code of the universe, and it replies to them, and so the instrument appears in their hand. It's something kind of interesting. But Opie has this belief that there's an instrument coming to him, like he has one and it's coming, and he's constantly, whenever something happens, he's raising his hand to the sky. He's like, don't worry, like it's coming, right? And he thinks to himself like, as long as he is like mighty, it'll come to him. He is the savior. And it just so happens that he is stupidly lucky through so many situations. And it's a mixture of luck and his own delusion.
That
That
reminds me of this
that
character in going back to Xenoblade. I'm sorry, but in
sure.
Xenoblade 2, Tora is a Napon, and he wants nothing more than to become a driver, someone who can use blades. Like the big weapons that you get to use to fight or whatever. He yearns to do this so much that he manufactures his own blade to use, his own artificial blade, and now like he can call himself a driver because that's his dream. That's the same type of vibe Opie is giving me. He wants to be able to use a weapon so bad that I can see that he tries to make an instrument of his own in the game. That's cute. I
Maybe
love
so.
that.
And you'll see a bunch of times where he definitely like his delusion will get in the way, and it will be a problem that you have to deal with.
It's like, hey Zura,
He'll
check
get
out
into
my
trouble.
ukulele. He tries to strum it and like it breaks. It's like, did you like that?
Maybe so. Maybe so, definitely. He will get into a lot of interesting trouble, and then we'll have to deal with it. But then, when we deal with it and we try to teach him like this is not the way, right? Like this is not the way. In his mind, he's like, but you did this, you are here because of me, because I summoned you. So I am mighty. So it's something about it, but that's one bad example, right?
Sure, sure,
Maybe
sure.
like some enemy's about to hit him, and then he like gets really scared and he closes his eyes and he puts his arm up like, he's begging like for his instrument. And I don't know where Zura shows up and kills the enemy and then keeps running. And then when Opie opens his eyes, the enemy's dead and he doesn't see
I
Zura.
did
So he
it.
thinks he did it, right? And he's like, this, and a little bit, it's not really a comic relief, but it's meant to be this little bit of a ridiculous turn of events that just feeds into this delusion.
Right.
But this delusion is pretty intense. Is much more than just like, he doesn't want to see that he's just a little guy. It's a lot more, and it's gonna feel that, it kind of, he really wants this to the core of his soul, right? So then you hopefully, we hope that you will, as a player, want to enable him just a little bit, right? And you would not want to break that delusion. So we'll give you the opportunities to do either, right?
Yeah.
To break his heart or to, feed into his
Oh
delusion. And
no.
we'll see what you do. We'll see what
Oh
you do.
no. Okay.
But yeah, Opie. Something else. This was a couple of things about Opie. So Opie was a community suggested idea. There's a lot of people in our community that kind of came up
Really?
with the idea of like a, yeah. I mean, of course, I do this once in a while where I tell people, oh, great idea, and it's not like we never thought about anything similar. We always wanted like a character that was on the adorable side, because the game has a lot of serious moments. So we
Right.
wanted someone that's not a comic relief. We never wanted that. We don't want that in the game.
You don't want it to be
So
Claire because she already serves a purpose.
yeah, and we want someone that, their entire being, it's not like, we don't want anyone to fall prey to the events of the game in the same way. We wanted to have someone that was a little bit more, on the fantasy side, on the dreamer side. So Opie, there was always a draft of something like Opie. It was never Snacklet. It was something completely different that this is incredibly superior to, like by orders of magnitude. So because it's so much better, we said let's mix those things together. 70% of the idea of the community and the 30% of the purpose and kind of vibe of this other character that we wanted to make, and then Opie comes into play. And Opie's just spectacular. Like I think part of what the community wanted was to be able to have a character, a little thing that, because our community is addicted to this freaking Snacklet. So one thing is when Opie, because he is an ally, and he comes to your hub, and you are able to like see him in the hub. If you pass by him, we're working on this. We haven't been able to do it yet, but like he'll look at you and he'll like ask to be carried. Like he'll want you to carry him, and he'll kind of raise his little hands and like
Uppies.
kind of get me. And then if you do, right, then you'll be able to put him on your back. And then of course, I want you to imagine for a moment like this character that is an absolute delusion, right? So when you carry him, he points at like you're a horse. He's like, "Let's go!" Like he's telling you to charge. Like he's you know, in his mind, he's like, it's the kid. It's like the whimsy of a chaser. Like he's chasing this constant windmills, right? Like kind of Don Quixote thing. His mind is also always in this state of whimsy and the adoration of every moment. He lives every moment like it's the most epic thing that he'll ever live through. But it's also a little bit of an ass, because he thinks that Zura is his little sister. So he's like kind of condescending to her. It's like, don't worry, I'll protect you. And you have to deal with that as a character, knowing that you're very powerful. So it's a little bit of all of that. But of course, until he meets Maggie, and then the knight has met his princess, and the princess does not want the knight. And it's just like this beautiful story of him, like I don't know if he's gonna be like madly in love, or he's just gonna be like over-aggrandizing the story of saving the princess. But Maggie is smart enough that she doesn't really need the saving, but he's just so into it. That all the problems you'll get into because they exist, and the distance between their beliefs, right? Maggie living every single day as probably one of the only Snacklets that perceives the depth of their despair, right? What they're going through, right? She's one of the only ones that gets it. The other ones are living in this like, well, we're just doing what we're supposed to do, right? But she gets it. She gets the weight of what they're helping the Saviors do, and at the same time, like that this will not end, right? That this will not come to an end until it ends. It's some of that you know, she lives in reality, in extreme reality, in like awareness of reality, whereas Opie lives in this constant delusion, and that's their distance. It's not like a hopeful character versus like an accepting character. It's like a character that is aware and a character that is like a dreamer. What does that look like?
This has been another episode of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show. Want to help with Shade Protocol becomes? Join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice with the dev team directly. Go follow Shade Protocol on Kickstarter, and if you like this breakdown, check out our past spotlights and interviews with Kendall right here on the Razzle Dazzle Show. Remember, the future of Emeria is still being written.